IB students, this is Ryan Megan, the founding partner of HKExcel. So if you're watching this video right now, I presume you're having troubles writing your TOK essay, okay? So that's why in this video I'm going to teach you how to write a Grade A TOK essay in just 3 hours. We're going to look at the May 2020 TOK essay titles, okay? So this will be very relevant to you. I'm going to go through your paragraph by paragraph what you should write in your TOK essay and even give you examples that you can use. So by the end of this video, I suppose you should find this TOK essay really easy. Okay, so let's get straight to it. So in this video, we're going to focus on question number 3. Okay, so our team believes that this question is one of the easiest to get a high score in. So that's why we chose this question to go with. Okay, so if you want to utilize this video, I suggest you can use this topic as well, okay? So it's question number 3. Does it matter that your personal circumstance influence how seriously your knowledge is taken? Okay, so this is the question we would encourage you to use, and this is the question we're going to talk about in this video. So before we start, in this video I'm going to share with you how to do the TOK essay, but if you want a sample essay, because we do have a sample essay as well, if you have the sample essay, it should be even easier for you. You can have a reference, right? So if you want the sample essay, you can download it in the link below. If you're watching this on YouTube or on Facebook, you should be able to find a link. Or if you're watching this on Instagram, then you can direct message us, okay? Just send us a DM, all right? One last thing to talk about before we start. Just allow us to have a very short advertisement in here, okay, just less than a minute, okay? So we're one of the leading IB tutorial centers in Hong Kong, okay? In the past year, we have helped 11 students to score 45 out of 45. You can see some of the 45 students on the screen, right? So what we do is we offer exam-based lessons. So we teach IB students how to tackle the IB exam and the IB test in the best way possible, okay? How do you get the highest score with the least amount of time? That's what we're all about. Okay, we can help you on your IB test, exams, and on your IAs as well, or even on your TOK essay. So if you want to book a free trial lesson with us, you can go on HKExcel.org, okay, on the screen. Okay, so the free trial lesson is for you to pick the right tutor, right? You can come for a free lesson. Make sure you like the tutor before you continue. Okay, so if you need any help to boost your IB grades, whether in Hong Kong or if you're overseas, just go on the URL, and then hopefully we'll be able to help you, okay? So hope to see you soon. Now, let's get straight to it. So for a TOK essay, regardless of which title you're doing, we suggest that you follow the structure. Okay, the first part is your introduction. So in your introduction, you should define the key terms in the topic, in the title, okay? Define the key terms in the question. Then you should lay out your knowledge question. So you should state a knowledge question in your introductory paragraph. So your knowledge question basically is kind of similar to the TOK question you're answering itself, but in the knowledge question you talk about which areas of knowledge you focus on, okay? Because for a TOK essay you should focus on 2 areas of knowledge. Okay, so you should answer the question with relating to 2 areas of knowledge, right? So the second part you focus on the first area of knowledge. You talk about your claim and your counterclaim, okay? For and against, claim and counterclaim. Okay, you'll see what that means later. Then your second area of knowledge, again, claim and counterclaim, right? So for these 2 body paragraphs, for your first area of knowledge and your second area of knowledge, these 2 paragraphs, you should have examples for your claim and counterclaim. So at least you should have 4 examples, basically, right? The first area of knowledge, you have 2 examples, and the second area of knowledge, you have 2 examples. Then finally is your conclusion, where you use what you discussed to directly answer the question, okay? So in your first paragraph, as I mentioned, you should define the terms in the question and lay out your knowledge question, right? Okay. So the question we're answering, the TOK question we're answering, as I told you just now, is: does it matter that your personal circumstance influence how seriously your knowledge is taken? So what are some terms or phrases which should define? First is: does it matter? So you can say in your essay, does it matter? The phrase "does it matter" refers to how significant something is and whether something is good for society from a utilitarian standpoint. Okay, so a certain situation matters if it's significant or if it's beneficial to society. Okay, now the next phrase is personal circumstance. So personal circumstance can refer to one's state of financial and material welfare and his qualifications, basically. So another synonym for personal circumstance is status. Okay, so personal circumstance also means somebody's status, like how much they're respected, how much they are, what their track record, their historical credibility. These are all part of status. Okay, historical credibility, track record, reputation. These are all part of somebody's status or personal circumstance. Okay. Now, how seriously your knowledge is taken refers to whether it is considered to be true and valued by people, whether the knowledge is widely applied or not, right? So knowledge is taken seriously if it is considered to be true and valued by people, by mass majority of the people, right? Now, so in our TOK essay, we choose to focus on the natural sciences and arts. So the knowledge question we're going to focus on for this TOK essay is, to what extent is a person's status important in ensuring quality knowledge in natural sciences and arts? So in your knowledge question, see it as pretty much the same as the TOK essay prompt, but you just focus on 2 areas of knowledge, right? So this is what you should include in your introductory paragraph: definitions of phrases, key phrases, and laying out the knowledge question. So if you recall in our essay structure, basically you have introduction, then you go into your first area of knowledge, claim and counterclaim. So you should have 1 paragraph for claim, or a section on claim, maybe 2 paragraphs on claim and 2 paragraphs on counterclaim. So now let's move on to our first area of knowledge. All right, so first area of knowledge is science. So you can go into your first claim. So the first claim that I would make, or what our TOK experts believe you should make, is that personal status should not be important in the sciences when we decide whether knowledge should be taken seriously. Okay, and reasoning through the scientific method should be more important. So the argument is basically that even if somebody's personal status is not extremely high, if their theory can be proven by the scientific method, it should still be valued by the scientific community and by society, right? Judging based on historical credibility is not fair to scientists and it's not beneficial to society, because if we judge scientific knowledge based on historical credibility, we can dismiss theories that are true only because the scientist who invented it does not have a high status, right? So we should look at scientific knowledge from the standpoint of the scientific method, whether the theory is proven and have a solid foundation and is proven well by the scientific method, rather than judging it based on personal status, right? So this is the first argument we can make. So one example is Barry Marshall. So he was a scientist who discovered the bacterial cause of stomach ulcers. So he discovered that stomach ulcers are actually caused by bacteria, right? So he did tests on himself to find this out. So he injected bacteria into himself and developed ulcers himself, right? So his theory was later proven to be true. Okay, so we now know that what he discovered was true. But his research was not taken very seriously initially because he did not have status. He was just a very junior scientist. His research was only taken more seriously when he gained support of a more senior scientist, David Graham, right? So the point here is that society can sometimes dismiss scientific theories purely because of the person who developed the theory does not have a high status. And this is wrong because a lot of times, or not a lot of times, but it is possible that a junior scientist can have breakthrough discoveries, right? So this suggests that the society at large and the scientific community should focus on or should evaluate one's knowledge based on the scientific method rather than by his or her status. So now we move on to the counterclaim. So counterclaim is normally just an argument that is opposite to the claim, right? So what I would say is that in some circumstances, personal status should be considered in the sciences when we evaluate the quality of knowledge, of a certain piece of knowledge, right? So how we can back this up. So scientists with more historical credibility, like famous scientists, or more senior scientists, they have more resources, and hence their research have a higher chance of being right? So hence, by implicit reasoning, we can deduce that scientists with a higher status are more likely to be correct. Okay, and sometimes theories are not supported by scientific data, right? So there are times that scientists comes up with hypotheses or theories, but they cannot test these theories in the laboratory, right? Like it's just a theory they came up by reasoning, right? In such cases, we have to use intuition or implicit reasoning to decide whether to trust a theory. So in this case, we will often evaluate a scientist's historical credibility. So in other words, sometimes it is not possible to test a certain theory. Okay, for example, the theory may be about something in the outer space, right? It's not possible to test such a theory. So in this case, we must choose to decide whether or not to trust this theory based on a scientist's credibility, because there's no way to test it, right? So in these cases, historical credibility or a scientist's status is very important to consider, because there is no way to test the theory. Okay. So one example we can use is Albert Einstein. So his prediction about solar eclipse became true in the 1990s. So because he had this initial breakthrough, his status gone up because he had this prediction that came true. People trusted him more, and later on, his work in quantum theory, was taken a lot more seriously by the scientific community, and he even won a Nobel Prize in the 1922. So you can argue that because of Einstein's historical credibility, this is why his theory, his breakthrough theory of quantum physics, was widely considered by the scientific community, right? So next we can go into the arts, right? The second area of knowledge is the arts, and the claim is that the worth of an artwork or how seriously a piece of artwork is taken often depends on the scientist, right? So there are many examples of this. You can search up like really famous artists. Their painting can be worth many millions of dollars, right? So for example, Leonardo da Vinci's painting Salvator Mundi was sold for 430.5 million. So it's the most expensive painting ever sold, right? So, of course, Leonardo da Vinci is one of the most widely respected artists there is out there, and this is the reason why his work was taken was viewed as being that valuable, right? Or you can come up with more examples in this. We can move on to the counterclaim. So counterclaim is essentially, like as I said, the opposite to the claim, right? So here you can say an individual's. So basically, the argument I would make is that artists who are starting their career will not have the same status as the more senior artists, right? So that's why oftentimes this is the reason why they may not receive the same kind of enthusiasm or judgment on their art pieces. So junior artists are not taken that seriously by the general public, but it does not mean that there's no value in their work, right? So the public can often dismiss valuable artwork purely based on an artist's status, and this is not fair, and this is not beneficial to society, because society will miss out on value that is generated by junior artists just because of their status, right? So, for example, Deschamps Dumas, this is an artist he used to be. So when he started out, it took a lot of time for him to establish the worth of his art. So obviously now he's a very famous artist. So it took almost a decade for him to make a significant sale, and this is because Ethan Cohen, a professional gallerist, gave him an opportunity by taking interest in his art and displaying them in his gallery. So after Ethan Cohen displayed Deschamps' work in his gallery, Deschamps' art became much more popular. He gained a reputation, and his work became much more valuable, right? But this does not mean that when Deschamps started, he did not produce valuable artwork, right? His work always had its value. However, his work was not taken seriously before his reputation group before he was recognized by Ethan, right? So it just shows that artists without a track record and without reputation can often not be taken seriously, right? So artists often requires another professional with credibility to step in to help before the public can see value in their work. Okay, but this is not fair for artists in a way, right? Because even if they don't have a large reputation yet, it does not mean that there's no value in their work. So finally, in your conclusion, you basically summarize the arguments that you have already made, right? So a few points. The first one is that general public seems to require more credibility before they accept new knowledge into their personal paradigm. So this is why the general public seems to evaluate a certain knowledge based on the credibility of the proposer. Okay, and this is often due to the lack of trust that people have due to fake news and information overload of the media, right? But however, it may not be beneficial for us to dismiss knowledge that is in fact true due to lack of status from the proposer of the knowledge, right? So certain times there are people who come up with certain kinds of knowledge that are in fact true, but they are dismissed by the general public, right? So you can summarize by saying something like, the public may need a new, may need a more effective way of evaluating a certain piece of knowledge rather than based on the status of the proposer, right? Okay, so I hope you found this video useful, and if you do, please share it with your friends, and you can register for a free trial with our IB experts, right? So hope to see you guys soon.